For several years, he has been all over the place helping out and giving back to the disabled population. He has done counseling, recovering heroin addicts, and has a new book that highlights the visions of a true swimmer in addition to his hosting duties on Eminence Disabilities Redefined. So please welcome the author of Aqua Blue, Visions of a Swimmer, Dr. Truett Vaigneur.
Hello. How are you? So good to see you. So good to see you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Yes. So Doc, what's up?
Yes, David. How are you?
What's up? What are you trying to do to me here backstage?
Load you up with pizza? I don't know.
That's
Donuts?
So nice. Thank you.
Well, you got
Thank you so
Listen,
much.
how could you feed us with these good food if you're a doctor and you're supposed to tell us we should be eating healthy?
He's a disabled.
It's okay
doctor.
sometimes to cheat, right? It's okay.
Yeah. Well, look. Anyway, listen. Let's just discuss about your life in particular and what got you into like modeling and that led you into like doing the show at Eminence Disabilities Redefined. So
Oh my God, well,
tell us
that's a
about it.
big jump. How I got, to be honest with you, you guys are going to laugh about this. I was modeling in my early 30s. I'm 50. I'm 50 now. So in my early 30s, I had just graduated from my BA at Hunter College, and I'm a
Right.
strong advocate of education. I always liked school. I always thought I was very cool and hip. I was, working in fashion and the whole 9 yards, but I always loved school. So in my late 20s, I decided to go back and finish up with my first degree, because early on in what we call traditional college age, if such a thing exists these days, I left to go into Europe because I did some work in fashion in Europe in my late teens, early 20s. So I never finished that degree. I ended up in New York, and then 25, 26, I was kind of eager to go back to school. Again, I loved school. It has nothing to do with not being cool or whatever. On the contrast, school is very, very cool and yes, and hip and important. So I went back to Hunter. I did a double major in creative writing education. And when I graduated, I wanted to write the great novel. But I did not want to go to work in a 9 to 5. It just wasn't in the cards for me at that time. So I went back to a modeling agency, and they took me, and about 2 weeks later, I was doing some extra background work on Law and Order SVU. And that led to a 4-year whirlwind work extravaganza where I did work like I would work sometimes 4 or 5 days straight, and I would end up hoarse. I was so tired and drained. And it was fun, but it soon becomes boring. It does. It really does become boring. One time my family came to see me, and I could hardly speak because I had done a car show. I had actually done some work for AT&T. I had done a Samsung commercial, which lasted about 18 hours. And I really was super exhausted, and they were like, you know what, take a few breaks, take a few weeks off, and I did. So then at the end of that few-week time period, I got called to do a commercial in Central Park that was going to be seen in Mexico. And it's funny because it was about 16 bald models, and we were standing beside a very cute young Mexican teenager. And
Yeah, it's getting hot in here. Just you mentioning
I wish I
models.
was. Yeah, but anyway, I was getting sunburned, and they would not let me go to the trailer to put on my, yes. And about 3 hours later, honestly, you could have put it together like that. I was so red. So I left the shoot. I was a trooper. I stayed on set. I ate because they always feed you very well.
Yeah, sure.
And as a model, sometimes you don't always have money to eat. So I did eat, and I walked across the park because it was on the Upper West Side. I live on the Upper East Side, which is also where Hunter College is. And I walked straight into Hunter College, got an application. This is back in the archaic days before we had the internet, because again, I'm 50.
Yeah.
Exactly. I filled out the application, and I went back the next morning, and I'm like, here you go. And a few months later, I got a call saying, congratulations, you've been accepted. That led into an internship and degree. I got sponsored. Again, I was a good student. I got sponsored by OASIS, the Office of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Services. And from there, that job led to the City University of New York, which led to CUNY Leeds, which led to where I am now.
Wow.
That's good.
Absolutely.
An inspiring story
It
here,
is.
guys. Take some notes.
So you said something about how you was in modeling aging. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to misquote you. That that would you say that you wasn't consistent throughout the time, or were you?
Well, it was somewhat of a pattern. The pattern would be I would leave school, go work in background modeling and acting, and then go back to school. So I have 3 degrees. I am a doctor. Now, you all said I was a doctor. I'm a doctor in EDD. I have an educational doctorate degree. I don't bring medicine in front of me, okay? So in that respect, yeah, absolutely. And to be honest with you, when I had to choose to go into my doctorate degree, because my master's degree is in counseling, I did not even want to do psychology. So my doctorate is an educational doctorate, which is very interdisciplinary. Okay, yeah, so caring for other people, as most counselors will let you know, is a very taxing thing. I love my job, but at this time, I'm more in career counseling.
Yeah.
And career counseling within the disabled population at the City University of New York. That's the job I have. That's the job I love. I have no intentions of leaving that job, as well as doing my work here at MNM.
Right.
So, yeah, it was inconsistent, you know. I mean, from my experience in fashion and modeling and the whole 9 yards of it, I always had one rule to live by, and that was whatever job they gave you, you took it. I don't care if it was doing a car show for $25 an hour, or doing a Harper's Bazaar for $300 a day, or doing an AT&T print ad for $5,000. Whatever you get, do it, because chances are people don't really make it. You know, and that was the advice that was brutal. But as a teenager, when I first started, way down south as a teen model, I was told early on, chances are you're not going to make it. So whatever job you can get, take it.
Right.
Yes, and that was the best advice I ever got, because I did it, and my income tax from 30 to 34 years old said model actor. Yes, not waiter, not bus boy, not, you know,
So,
not temp agent, nothing of the above. It was model actor.
I do have a question. Like, you said you stopped acting at 30, or you started when
I started back at 30. There were
What?
2 other times before,
Because
yeah.
I just feel like people at that age, especially
Yeah, it was
nowadays,
weird. It
adults,
was-
they're just
yeah.
like, oh, I'm too old
Yeah.
to
Well,
go
no, listen,
back to this.
we're not talking
Yeah.
about nowadays. We're talking about, like, you know, 15, 20 years. I'm 50. I'm 50 today.
But then
So
I
in that
feel like
respect,
even
not today,
back-
but I'm 50 now.
Back then,
But-
that industry was way more harsh than it is now.
You know, it was, but I came around, I was an odd-looking bird. I was tall, I was thin, a lot thinner, about 50 pounds thinner.
And you do
than I
look
am-
young. You don't
yes,
look
okay.
young.
And I became bald very early. So when I came back on the scene, there were 2 shows that really kept me up and running. That was Sex and the City and the Law and Order series. And anytime they needed an exotic bald guy in a bar, they would say, get that guy Truett today.
So correct me.
Or if they needed a bad guy, you know, and sometimes they put like tattoos,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
or, you know, something like that. Yeah. So if they needed a bad guy, or on the other hand, a posh guy. A lot of which ended on the cutting room floor because I was a feature. They didn't let me speak. They just wanted me to feature. So I'd walk through and it would end up on the cutting room floor. Agent would call, oh, Truett, you know you did Law and Order a few days ago, but on the cutting room floor, can you go back again? I was like, yeah, of course. I get a
So-
paycheck. I need to eat.
So basically, it was like hearing that 1 minute they need you for an extra, and then you wait like maybe a week later, and they need you for something else. So it's like,
Well,
it wasn't an everyday thing.
No, it was an everyday thing. I was with like 7 casting agents, and I had 4 major agents at one time. And I had a group of like 12 other model actors that anytime one knew about a job or the other one didn't, we would all let each other know.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
we were
Wow.
not the
Good.
kind of actors that are models that wanted
Yeah.
to hold on
so
to it.
stingy.
Right.
The
That's how
industry
some
is
people
so.
are.
I mean, that was always my,
That's-
that was always my character, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. And I love what
Right.
I do now.
That's
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Right.
Who would you recommend? What would you recommend? An agent, manager, or agency?
All of the above. All of
Oh,
the.
yeah.
I wouldn't recommend one or the other. I would say whatever. Again, as I
Whoever's
said,
gonna get you
whatever's
work.
going to get you work.
Exactly,
Don't
right.
go in there like some whatever. No, no. You are a working individual. You got to work. You got to have a paycheck.
Right, that's
Absolutely.
true.
I want to know, like, this is going to be an inspirational story thus far at the moment, but you know, you have an amazing background in getting involved or helping out the disabled population. What got you inspired into doing that?
Yes, now that is a good, well, every good question, but that's a very good question. I grew up with two of my cousins were disabled, one of which I was extremely close with.
Right.
And she was blind. And as you all see, I don't have a book with me. I just got back from LA and I signed them all and left them all in Los Angeles. But and the book, there's more on the way, so I'll be glad to give everybody a copy. But the book is actually dedicated to my cousin who was blind, who I grew up with and extremely close with.
Right.
And she actually had another developmental disorder and died in her late teens.
Oh my
wow.
Yeah, she died when I was over in England. So, that was the reason why. But listen, we don't have to have any experiences to be caring. You know, we don't. A lot of people get into social work and become psychologists and psychiatrists and home health aid attendants just because they just need to care for people, you know? So we don't need that. And that was the case with me, that I had that experience. But you know what? There were other cousins, because my dad is one of 10, that was not drawn to help this individual, you know. So I was, which shows a lot about that was what I, you know, always probably would end up doing, right? Yeah. Right. And it's not like any different from any other job, you know. It is what it is, and I like it, and I really do appreciate it. One thing I will say, though, again, while we're here and talking about work, when you like your job, you will always do the best you can do.
That's true.
Okay, whether it's modeling and acting and music or talk show host or whatever. When you like it, you want to do it. When you get to the point to where, now this is the career counseling coming out right here on TV in New York City, but when you get to the point to where you say, I don't want to go to my job, or you're in a major in school, or any of you in school up here, and you're trying to find a way to get out of taking your major classes, your chances are you're in the wrong major.
Right.
Can you say that again? Can you say that again, please?
Well, I'll say it in brief. When you when you are in a major, for all those college students out there, and the time comes that you are trying to get out of taking major classes, you're probably in the wrong major. You know, I was a creative writing major back in the I always use the archaic days. We didn't sign up and do for our classes online. I was in a very advanced degree, creative writing at Hunter College. The professors would put the note on the door. You had to sign up on the note. The first 4 or 5 was there, would get in. When we realized that list, they called it the note, the list of the note, or whatever you want to call it, was on that door. I don't care where you were. You would see people running, literally running to the professor's door to sign up. So my overall advice is, when you're not running to your job and you're not running to your major, get out, do something else. Life's too short.
Doc,
Life is too short.
Doc,
Yeah.
can you stick around with us for just more? Because we want to discuss about the hot topics within the disabled population, you know.
Oh yes, absolutely. I'd love to.
You prefer to stick around?
Yes.
Yes. All right, Dr. Truett is sticking around with us, so we'll be right back, folks.